happening. Oh, yeah, we got people waiting.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Game night. All right.
Woo! Let's see. Hey, hello, friends. We're here.
Are we live? Can anyone? It's
We're
not
live.
showing up on mine. Okay.
Well, it did on mine. It
Well,
showed.
that's
For the
all
comments.
that matters.
There they are. Hey,
Hi.
hello, all our friends. Oh my gosh.
Hello.
So excited. So excited to talk about this one.
I'm so excited too. I can't even wait. I am so happy, Jen, when you finished.
Yeah, I was. So, story time. Y'all love Jen's story time. I started this last weekend on my drive. So I listened to the first half of it, which was marvelous. I mean, I know a lot of you listen to it on audio, and it's absolutely marvelous. But then the next day, I was in the car where I was the passenger. And so I read the second half, which was great as well, reading it, but I was crying off and on, and my sister's just like, oh my God. And I'm like, shut up. Mostly, she's a book reader too, but mostly because she doesn't get emotional about books like I do. So she's like, oh my God, stop crying. I'm like, leave me alone. It's not my fault that you're heartless. There we go. So, anyway, it was beautiful. But yeah. Where do we even start? I mean,
should we start with star ratings? Should we do that?
Sure. I mean, I'm more interested in what the crowd picked because I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah. The audio is amazing. I feel like the audio really puts it to another tier. Like it's just so good.
Oh yeah.
So tell us your star ratings in the comments.
Yeah.
And we will share
some. Mine was a 5-star, but when we get to breaking it down, I'll tell you why it wasn't a 6-star.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say that'll be interesting.
Me too, Justin. 5 stars. This one is by far my favorite Beverly Jenkins.
Sorry, my light is bugging me. Stop it.
5 stars.
I have all the curtains closed and all the lights off because it is hot as a ball sack in my apartment, and I'm just like sweating everywhere. So all you get is my face because I have everything turned off. And it doesn't help that I'm drinking. Lots of 5 stars. I love this. 4 stars. Yeah, everything else was 3. Yeah, there's definitely still stuff to talk about. Nicole!
Yeah.
Hi, Nicole! Oh my God.
I know!
I love you!
Is that the mayor of Hotown? Or
Girl!
What's her Twitter handle? It's so funny.
The Hoathon? I love it. Oh my gosh, look at all our friends we have today.
5 stars. Honestly, I see so many 5 stars for the romance, and
yeah,
I would agree, but I also feel like we can talk about that when we talk about our we'll get there.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Nicole lives in the
Oh my gosh, are you in Arizona?
Yeah. Literally in the devil's armpit right there.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Does your air conditioner works this summer though, right? The mayor of Ho Valley.
That's what it is. Okay.
I love it. I know last summer Nicole they had problems with their air conditioner, so they slept in their camper because the air conditioner in their camper worked. Girl,
I don't blame you. That would be terrible.
I would die. It's great.
Okay, so do you want to go first or should I go first?
Well, where are we starting with? Because
rating and overall impressions.
Okay. So yeah, this was a 5-star, no doubt for me. I'm not as harsh on the plot as some people are maybe going to be. I don't know where Justin is. Justin, wherever you are.
Justin, when you're watching this back, I think he said he had to work late.
Yeah. We love you, but also rude. Rude. No, just kidding. Yes. So I think for me, it's just because this is, though very well done with the history aspects too, it still is like a fantasy in a lot of aspects. Mm-hmm. And I know just from things I've heard that some people, I don't know how, have like hated on Queen Beth for having fantastical things. We're not here about that. I'm just saying those are things that I have heard before. And for me, I'm like, but that's what I love about romance anyway. So when people say like, oh, well, it's romanticizing. Well, no shit. It's a romance. And of course I want this beautiful man to be wealthy and rich and just shove happiness down your throat all the time. Like, yeah. So for me, it was definitely 5 stars. Though it's just so good. Yeah, I don't even know, because I feel like there was still lots of danger. Like there was ever-present danger, but it was about making the best of how we were living in it and being willing to take the risks. Like, oh my gosh, there was this one scene between, I can't remember the other guy's name, but when she had risked to save that one family, and he's like, well, why would you do that just for one people? And she's like, did you just say that to me? That's exactly the existence of the railroad, is that it's for that next person to be freed. Like that is literally what it's about. That's right, girl. I mean, we know. Gallon can get it. We'll get there. We will have a whole other section dedicated to the steam. Okay, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if that made any sense. The point being, I see what some people are saying, because to me, there definitely was like, there's Hester and Gallon being together, and then there would be like, oh, I need to sprinkle in some plot. I'm showing that time has passed. This is what's happening in the area, and then it would be back to them again. Mm-hmm. And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. But I can see how for some people they would be like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But
okay.
So
this is a 5-star read for me. This is one of my favorite historical romances. This is probably in my top 3 historical romance favorites. I love this book so much. And I do think that, I mean, it's just a 5-star read for me. I read this book last June. I didn't have a channel at the time. I had found Books with Samantha, her videos, and was watching all of them, and she was raving about Indigo, and so I immediately went and read it, and I was just flabbergasted at how beautiful it was. I love this love story. I love their romance so much. It is so completely beautiful for me that, like, who needs a plot? I mean, that's kind of how I felt about it. Like, it was just so completely perfect in pretty much every way. I loved it so much that I re-listened to it in August or September. And then I re-listened to it and physically read some of it in the last 2 days. I still love it. I still think it's just beautiful perfection. I think this is Beverly's best book. But I do think, she does tend to, I think that if Beverly has any shortfalls, it's always with the plot. Like that, this is sort of a typical pattern for her plots, where they kind of lose their way a little bit, but it was just so romantic. I just loved it so much. And I feel like when I read this book, I was just getting back into historical romance. And so it's very sentimental for me for that reason too, just because like it was just all of the feelings. Like I just had so many feelings while I was reading it. And I honestly am going to be mad at people who say that it's unrealistic, because Hester, she did deserve it. Like I just saw this comment by Warda. Like, I feel like she deserved every bit of happiness in this book, and I was so thrilled to see her have such a happy life. Like, it was perfect.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. When he brings her mom at the end,
I
was like, who are you?
It was
your grandchild, perfect. And I'm like, stop it. That's when I was listening to him. My sister's like, what's the matter? And I was like, you don't even know. You can't fake it. Because I was giving her updates, because again, like my sister's bookish too. So I'm like I told her where I was, and then every once in a while I'd be like, oh, Janine was a snake. And then I'd be going like, oh, she's cheating on him. Like I'd be saying stuff. And then I was like, he brought her mom back. And my nieces are like, what's happening? Anyway, sorry. I cried so much. I'm still pushing high and low for the iconic. Oh yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's on eBay. It's $300. You can get one on eBay for $300 right now.
It's on Amazon for $200 to $600, depending on. Hey, I keep an eye on it, because that's how I found my Where Passion Leads. That one was up over $100, and I found one for $55, and I was like, okay, I'm running for it. So I periodically check, you know. I found some of Lisa Kleypa's old ones for $2 at a used bookstore, so it can happen.
That's amazing. I'm not sure where you can order that. I would imagine probably Bev's website. It's on Amazon.
I'm pretty sure. Is it not?
Yeah. I haven't looked because I don't really like it.
Yeah, to answer Nicole's question, I am not going to pre-order it because I'm sorry, I think it's hideous.
I don't like it either. I am happy with this indie version of it, you know, until I can find the original cover.
To support Queen Bev, maybe I'll just buy another copy of it.
True. That's true. That's
maybe
something
I'll just buy another copy, but I'm not going to buy that new one. I don't like it. Yeah, Nicole, it is hundreds of dollars. Like, it's ridiculous because, oh man. It's
that, yeah, the mom scene honestly really just totally set me.
Yeah. We just jumped all over. Maybe we should go, okay, how do we feel about the beginning and their meet cute and how it gets started? Let's start and like work through, because otherwise we've said everything. We love it. It's smooth.
Yeah.
We got to make this book club longer than 10 minutes for everybody.
Okay. So, yeah. Go ahead and tell us your thoughts about the beginning. Jen, you go first about the beginning.
Yeah, I was immediately sucked into it. I loved, it was kind of funny to me. Okay, kind of funny to me because I feel like this book started with like grumpy and then became like sunshine and grumpy. Because that's just grumpy. But she definitely has like, you know, she's keeping it together. She's got work to do. She's not, you know, but she's kind of sunshine to like heal and like tries to be kind to him and, you know, is trying to nurse him back to health. And then when he now is back pursuing her, I feel like they switch and now she's grumpy and she's like, stop pursuing me. And he's like, I'm going to get you. Like, I feel like they switch. I don't know. But I loved it. I loved kind of the tense angst in the beginning where we're worried that he's going to be caught. And I loved the sheriff. Okay, I loved the sheriff. Like, that would be so difficult to be a sheriff who can see the evils happening and is trying to do his best. And so I liked getting to see him right from the beginning be kind of like, okay, they came and searched. Now you need to go. Like, you came and searched her. Time to leave, you know? And I don't know. I just thought that was really special because I feel like the law doesn't get represented good in the past or the present. But the law is seen as a nebulous thing when like there are individuals who do their best in whatever situations they are in and actually care about doing good. And I think that gets forgotten. Sorry that I was just on a diatribe there, but I just mean that I like seeing that in this story that they're, you know, that. So the setup for me, I really, really like that. And also, I was such a nerd for the Underground Railroad when I was in like elementary school and stuff. So this really threw me back to being like, oh my gosh, I remember reading so many different stories of like Harriet Tubman and watching stuff like that. So I was really happy about it. So anyway, I like the setup.
I think that this had, like, I really loved the opening letter that sets up where Hester came from and how she was taken from her parents, and they thought that might be a possibility. Like, I felt like that set the stage so well for sort of like the heartache that it was going to go through. It just made me feel so much sympathy for her parents and for Hester. Yeah, I loved I really just loved the whole buildup. I feel like the opening scene is probably the strongest part of the book. It's just like the whole nursing back to health, I think, is the strongest part of the book from the beginning until Galen leaves, probably. But it's just it's just so great. I loved how he was always trying to like get a glimpse of her, but he wasn't able to see her because his eye was all smashed up, and it was just fabulous. It was great. I'm going to highlight a few of these comments. Warda said she really liked the sheriff as well.
Yeah, he's great.
This one made me crack up. I knew he was perfect.
I don't know why he left, though. Okay, sorry, one thing. The sheriff, man. Why did he leave? Anyway, moving on. He's like, I'll be right back. And we're like, okay, because that's going to go well. Anyway. He knew he was perfect. He wouldn't use the chamber pot. Yeah. Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This scene, I loved it so much.
Yes.
Like,
Ooh. Yeah. And when he like sends her all the food, like for the railroad, like he like restocks all that stuff and everything because he knows. Oh gosh, he's so
when
great.
he sends her the oranges, was this the best part ever? I loved that so much.
Yeah.
And I think that in another of Beverly's books I've read, a hero sends oranges. I think it's in Forbidden, and she makes marmalade out of it, and that's like a big. I don't know. It's fun. Yeah. I love the food. I love how Beverly describes food too. Like that's always such a big part of her books. They're always such good cooks, and I love like how domestic that is. The most attentive hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. Pay attention to the details.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next. What should we talk about?
Well, how about like finding out who he is and everything? Like that, you know, like, well, and like why he's the Black Daniel and like how that come about. And okay, here's one of the things people can like, you can explain this to me probably, is how he is who he is. Like how he has like a title and money and stuff. Like how did that happen? Because I was confused, and then I was like, well, I know like someone was in love with someone and something. But
I honestly am still probably a little confused on that, even though I've now read it 3 times. But other than he's French nobility, or his parents were in the French, and he's half. But yeah,
well, because his grandma's still around, and then was it grandma? Isn't his grandma? Well, she's around in the beginning because he goes to greet her, to visit her, and she's a bitch to him and stuff. So like his grandma was alive, and it was her son that married a servant, or she wasn't a servant. Like I don't know. Like someone tell me. Like you don't just have to tell me. All you people who read, Jessen, you pay attention to shit. Tell me how he has money.
I'm like I didn't keep track of their family tree that closely, so.
Right. Well, I just like I said, I just want to know because how he like had all the money to do that, because there's a big deal that he was going to choose to stay there, and he chooses to stay there because of her and buy the land for 3 times what it's worth. So yeah, I just want to know if anyone knew. Like it obviously didn't break the novel for me, but I just wanted to know what the reasoning was. Because he was born free. And there was something that happened where now he wanted to save people because what happened there? Like, this is all things that like, I was like, yay, romance. Ah.
Yeah.
But then I like how he became the Black Daniel is an important thing. So how did that happen?
How he became Black Daniel? That started off as like, okay, here's Jessen. Thank you. During the French and Spanish. After so many years. Like
yeah, but he wasn't ever a slave though. Because he was the son of people. So, I mean, this is true. This is good history. But him specifically, he was born free. Because I think his mom married. Yeah.
I do feel like at the end, when they're at his grandma's funeral, they talk a little bit about his history. And there is a specific section about how he became the Black Daniel. And it's basically just that it was almost like he saw it as like this superhero type of thing, not like a superhero, but like this, you know, really cool thing to be the Black Daniel. But then once he started actually doing the work and seeing what happened to families as they were separated, then it really became just this passion that.
Well, wasn't it a friend's wife got snatched and sold into slavery, and they went to save her, and then once they saved her, he was like, I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. But no, I think he was. Because what I believe from what I picked up is that his grandmother hates him because her son married a Black woman and who was free, but like married a Black woman. And then he's the only heir left. So he gets all her money and she hates it. That's what I was assuming. Yes. And then he also did that. But once his grandma died, then he got the fortune because he was the last like heir left. So he had some self-made money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is true, Marissa.
This is true. And I don't have to know it. I'm just trying to think of this to have things to talk about. Yes. And this is true, Justin. Because then after he rescued them, someone called him the Black Daniel because he was like Daniel in the lion's den.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that slavery was his den, he said. Like the South was his den. So I knew how he got that. But he did it once and then he, it was a rewarding thing. And then he kept doing it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, it's just interesting.
It is interesting.
We're gonna talk about like I love the idea of his persona and like that was really cool. And then but then he comes to town, man. All right. Let's talk about the pursuit of Hester. I feel like that's a good place to go to. Because if there was one thing that I'm not always a fan of, but I'm gonna say it worked in this one, but what I'm not always a fan of is when a heroine refuses to realize that someone loves her. Like refuses it. And normally that irritates me. In this case, it works just because she's trying to think of him and his social standing. And he's like, girl, I don't give a flying fuck about it. They can't take my money from me. What are they going to do? If they snub me, then it'll just be me and you all the time. Who cares? Yeah. But I just believed it of her too because of that setup where she's like, I'm not going to marry anybody for love. Love makes us do stupid things. Which, again, usually a hero has that mindset where they're like, I'm not going to marry for love. Love makes people do stupid things. That is a classic historical romance hero archetype. So I love that that was flipped on its head. And yeah, I loved the one good thing that Janine does is to take Foster off the market. Thank you for the whole Janine.
Yes.
Trapping him in. Because that was I laughed my ass off. I laughed so hard. And I was literally, I remember I was drinking a strawberry shake. I stopped at A&W Burger on the way home. And there's the scene where they get stuck in the mud. And Gallon comes up. And he's like, oh, his wife, huh? And she's like, I will slap you. I like strawberry shake out my nose. It was amazing. I was like, Janine, that's the one good thing you did is you took that loser off the market. I love it. I love it.
He was, he was definitely a loser. Like just the way that he was like, okay, Hester, you're going to be excited about this. Guess what? I got married. And I'm like, how would you ever think that she was going to be excited about that? Even though she didn't really like you, like you agreed you were going to marry her. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about him where you immediately realize how, like, he was looking at this differently than her. She was like, we're going to do our good works together. And he was just like, oh, I'm probably, like, doing us a favor or whatever. Like, yeah, Foster's a piece of trash. But it I'm not, like, okay, Janine doesn't exist. Gallon still definitely wins over. Like, he definitely still wins her over. But by Janine sticking her tail in his face and getting him into that marriage, it just made it removed all of her obstacles. Yeah. So now the only thing in her way is like herself. So
I definitely felt like towards the end when Foster, when he was trying to act like Hester was the one who was being a loose woman, I sort of felt like they were setting up Foster to be the spy, to be the one who was going to like be the one who turns or tells them where Hester's papers are or anything like that. Like I felt like they were setting him up to be the villain, because I also think that if we're gonna do any criticisms, I feel like another thing Beverly Jenkins does is her villains are very obvious. Like they're super obvious who the villain is. Yeah. And it's not like there's not real build up, which isn't a bad thing. But
as soon as Janine is fucking that guy, we're like, well, But let's talk about that scene for just a second, though, because when she's like, well, the same could be said of you, and Gallon's like, you better shut your whore mouth. I think you're going to go down. And I was like, yes!
I just loved
it. Because Janine, what does she do? She just runs over to Foster and is like, I'm going to tell a lie, which leads us to what Jessen just said, the Sunday morning service. Oh, my God. I mean, here's the only thing, though. If this was anyone else, he really does literally force her to marry him. And the night before, she's like, you can't make me marry you. And he's like, you going to be at church tomorrow? And I was waiting for it. I was like, oh my gosh, what's he going to do? then he started quoting Song of Songs to her in front of everybody. And I was like, and then Gallen's like, he's never going to quote that passage in church again. But he's so beautiful. He's like, Hester is my heart and I want her. And I'm like, yes, you do.
He did. I feel like he did it in such a romantic way. Like, I wasn't even like upset at all because like,
oh no, I wasn't upset. She was being too stubborn. She was being dumb. Like I understand all of her reasons, but like this man is passionately in love with you and you're like, no, it won't work. And I'm like, how will it not work, Hester? How will it not work? It's going to be fine. So I was glad that he did it. It was one of the things I'm like, good.
So badly wanted to shake her so many times and just be like, girl, you don't meet a man like this very often.
Right,
like, don't let him out of your hands. Like, I loved even how like, it wasn't his servant, but what was her name? I can't remember her name. Who like raised him and was with him from a boy. Like, who called him the dragon all the time. That. Yes. I loved that line when they were like, Hester was the only one who tamed the dragon.
Yes.
I loved it so much.
I know. Well, it was just so... Well, I like, too, how that's... Okay, what was I going to say? Because another thing that can irritate me about heroines is she's literally like, I'll just let him love me while he's here. And I was like, he's literally moved here. He moved here. He bought a house. What are you doing when he moves on? He bought a house. He's putting down roots for you. Just calm down.
But I think that says a lot about how Hester is so afraid. Like the idea of something permanent and people loving her permanently, that's just such a foreign concept with her from the time when she was ripped away from her, adopted family and her friend. Like, she doesn't believe that people are going to stay with her. So I could understand how she was afraid that he was going to leave. But
I saw that, Nicole. Nicole has the pretty one.
Oh.
So, fuck you, Nicole. I love you. Fuck you. With love. Yeah. Well, Amy, but yeah, he bought her land at 3 times the price.
Mm-hmm. To take care of her.
Yeah. I love it. Well, for when he buys her the chest of nightgowns.
I know, I love that so much. But that moment when he sees her in her ugly old nightgown and she's so like embarrassed and hurt, like I felt for her so much in that scene. I feel like that's something that like Beverly Jenkins is so good at making you feel things in that moment. Like I just, it was such a like you were so embarrassed for her and you could tell how bad he felt. So I love it.
Yeah. Oh, he's so great. And when they ruined her home, like even though she's married to him, she's staying with him now, that they would like defile her home that way and like take her papers. Like I was like,
oh gosh, my heart like
I was like, no. Oh my gosh, that was. Yeah, so some of like the dangerous situations in this book, like that, oh my God, that dumb fuck. I just hate him so much.
Yeah.
That is one of the, like, that's one of the things too, is it definitely was a character, like a cartoon character level of like evil where there's just no, like, because every bad thing that a person could want to do, he wanted to do. He wanted to put people in slavery. He wanted to rape them. He wants to kill them. He wants all these things. I was like, okay, we could just pick one. He doesn't need to want to do all the things.
Yeah.
We get it. He's a bad guy who's bad. We get it.
This killed me. Like all of the little pet names that he had for her.
I know.
I just loved it so much. I also loved this too.
Yes, yeah. Tiffany's mentioned it too, like the vanilla and stuff. So he's like, I just want you to wear this, and then I want to smell it on you later.
The fact that he got her Madagascar vanilla for a wedding gift and that he had bought it months before, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So like I just died.
He made his plan. He drew up his battle lines. He like knew what was going on, and that is just we were gonna get to it. The mud pies. Oh my God. First when he's sick, and then later on they're like, "Will you make mud pies with me?"
I know.
And she's like, and she literally doesn't even hesitate. She's like, yes, I can do it later today. We can do it. She's not even like, we only did that the once. She was like, nope, let's go. Oh,
Yes.
so
Okay. Also, this scene when he called her baby girl. Yes, I loved that scene so much.
I agree. I love pet names, Marissa. It's literally my
Yeah.
shit. I love it so much. I actually had this this discussion with Juliet, where like some pet names, like people need to earn them, and then there's some pet names that people can just start with, but you have to like earn certain ones. Because I don't just like it when you just call someone baby like right away. Like I'm like, bleh, you didn't earn it. But when you really like know the person and in a tender moment you like say baby to someone, I'm just like, just like scratching the itch. And like I feel like in historicals they don't use pet names as much.
That's very true.
They
really don't.
You don't. So the fact that he is doing that and like and how like proud he is of her hands and feet and stuff, like, oh my gosh.
That just
like,
honestly,
in our home you will never wear these. You can wear them in public all you want, but you will never hide anything from me. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, I don't want people to know, like I don't want to remind people that you have a slave as a wife. And it's just like, stop.
I loved how he took the thing that she was so like what Tarini says here. I thought that was one of the most beautiful examples of just how much he cared for her and loved her, just like almost like from the beginning. Like you could just tell they had the type of meeting that you could just tell they were just meant to be together.
Yeah. Well, it's the situation for, even though like they're like prickly and stuff, he's upset that he's hurt and angry that they were betrayed, so he's not in his best mood and he's sick. But she's a conductor for the Underground Railroad, and he is the Black Daniel who rescues slaves. So they both innately respect the other person right away. You know, like you're starting at a level of, we are both doing a dangerous job, and like you free people and I help house them, and like we're a team in that aspect. So even though there was some like friction right from the beginning, mostly because he's hurt and grumpy and hates being weak, and so that sets them off on the wrong foot, because he's like, I don't want anyone to have to take care of me. But he just becomes more and more impressed and respects her as he goes, because he's like, who is this woman who's doing this on her own? And she could be taken at any time. Like, she could be caught at any time and it'd be over. But all she wants is to save one more person. That's all she wants. That's why it's such an insult when the friend, like, is it Levesque? I can't remember.
Yeah, Levesque. When they're a big family. She's got so many books written by the Levesque family.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I'm reading some of them soon. But that's why it's such an insult when they're like, it's just one family. And it's like, that is what I do, is it's one at a time. Any person could be the last person that we save, you know? So, so great.
It was beautiful. Just, it felt like the whole book had such, I think that, and I think that really only Beverly Jenkins could do this, where she handled like these moments of just such love and beauty and hope between Galen and Hester. But then you have the scenes, like the reminders of the families who are always on guard when there starts to be like kidnappers again in the town, and men sitting on the porch worried that people are going to come in and take their family away. And it's just like that threat of danger always in their life, you know? But then you have these moments of just such intense beauty. It was just, I honestly, like, you can say whatever you want about the plot. I agree. But it's just, I think overall it's just so beautiful and so powerful, and I just think it's perfect.
Yeah, I don't have like bad things to say about it. I mean, some people like it. I can see too that there was some like pretty like momentous things that would then just be skipped over. Like it was just, oh, she's pregnant, and I was like, what? That was literally like a big thing that some like slave or black couples won't have babies right now because they're like worried. And then it was just like, oh, she discovered she was with child. It was fine. And I was like, Bev, you can't just skip that moment. It's my favorite moment when people tell their husbands they're pregnant, and you just skipped it. And I was like, no. Come on. And I was like, we were just over it. And I was like, oh my gosh. So. But I don't know. It was beautiful. It was obvious the point that she wanted to get to as well, and like where she was wanting this to end. But I mean, yeah, it's just so great. But I mean, literally, that's the difference between a 5 and a 6 star for me. It's a 5-star book. It's wonderful. It gave me all the feelings that I wanted. Certain plot things, then it would have been 6 for me. But it's 5-star, and that's as high as you can rate it on most things. So it was wonderful. I definitely want to read it again, for sure, to listen to the last half, because reading it, I tend to skim more when I'm like reading, and I was in the car with my sister, so some stuff I'm like, okay, I don't need to read another sex scene right next to my sister. But if I was myself, I would have read them all. I was like, I got the point. I'll move on.
Should we talk about that next?
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
You go.
Beverly Jenkins isn't steamy, and they lied. Some other books, other people tell me they're like, this was one of the steamier ones. So
I would agree for sure.
That's fair. But I don't want anyone to tell me which ones aren't. Do not list the ones that aren't, because I'm going to read them all. And if you tell me ahead of time that they're not, then you will disappoint me. So just don't say it.
I won't say a word.
Not just you. I'm talking to you comment people. Don't tell me. Because some people are like, oh, well, this was the most. I was like, shh. Because I don't want to go into a book being like, oh, I'm not going to expect it, like I did with this one. And I was just like, this was sexy, man. He is a sexy man.
Very, 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 yeah.
It did have
very sensual. Yeah,
it did have some of the crazy words, though.
Yeah.
Like there was ones. I can't remember them all now, but there was some welcoming passage. I remember.
that's such an iconic old school term, isn't it?
Yeah, there it is. That was one. Because for so many of their sex scenes, they haven't like actually had sex yet. And so many times she'll be like, though she was still her virgin body, I was like, we get it. He hasn't breached it yet. We get it. Stop calling it her virgin body, because at a certain point, your hymen isn't the part that makes you a virgin anymore, okay? Yeah. Like, we were doing all the things. Just stop. I know, man. There was some in here where I was like, oh, yep, I forgot this was written in the 90s. Now I've been reminded. Or 2005, whatever was written. 25 years. So, yeah.
25 years.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm really curious to read what else was written in that year, to see what else kind of may hold up. Obviously I don't think anything is going to compare to this, but
I'll tell you for sure that I did have Kleypas vibes coming off of Gallon. Like, I know the way that he's an alpha and the way that he's like, I got my eyes on you.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had vibes, and she has 80s and 90s books too. Like, I definitely was getting that. And, I'm reading Where Dreams Begin right now, and there's things about him where, like, he really wants her. And so he sets up a situation where she's going to be teaching him something so that he can be around her. And he knows that he wants her, but he has to trick her into it. Like, that kind of, like, vibe where you're like, they see her and they know.
Yeah.
And then they have to come up with a scheme to make it happen.
that is definitely a classic Kleypas move, isn't it? I didn't even put that together. That's interesting.
Yeah. I would agree. Because this happened in random places. That was, like I said, where we would have a big swath where it's like, it's Galen and Hester, and then it would be like, meanwhile, and it would list a bunch of events that were happening in the world. But I agree that that's info dumpy, but I also think it's necessary to remind us of the stakes, because since this book is about, what's happening in the world at this time, or in the United States at this time, to remind that it's not all hearts and flowers for everyone. I feel like it's a good thing to do. But it was done, like, I wish it had been worked into dialogue and worked into scenes. They could have been talking about what's happening. Or Gallon is sitting down reading the newspaper and he's like, oh, this happened in this place, So to me, that's, I think, just a style change where, like, instead of you telling me that's going on, like, the characters could have told me it was going on. But...
And I feel like I do recognize the info dumping happening, but it also, like, I didn't find it bothersome, and I kind of enjoyed the history or the stories of the other families or the things that were happening. Like, I liked that. It didn't bother me. Usually info dumping is a real hard no for me, but it didn't bother me in this one.
Yeah.
But yes, the food. Like, am I the only one who notices like the food? Like, I feel like the food
when
here
Hester,
is just.
When Hester wants to bake bread with mashed
Yes,
and
I
she's
love
like,
that
"You're the
part.
lady. You can't." And she's like, "Well, if I'm the lady, then why can't I?" "Well, it's my kitchen." "Yeah, but like, can I help you bake bread?" Oh, that was great.
It was. Let's see what this is in comment.
Yeah. And that's totally fair. And that's just what I mean is like, I think what makes this like info dump different than like, let's say in a fantasy where they're doing it is that this is US history and I want to know about it.
Yeah.
And it's coming from the research that Beverly has done and what stuff is pertinent to the story she's telling. Whereas like when you start a new fantasy book and they just info dump stuff to you, you're like, I'm not from Heimdall, so I don't know what all this stuff is.
Yeah.
You haven't made me care about it yet. And so you just listing facts about stuff. It doesn't mean anything to you, which is why good authors start you off with like something's happening and then we add stuff in. Whereas for this, because it was telling me things that like I wanted to know, even though when I was reading it, I could recognize like, okay, we're just dumping a bunch of facts in it. They were things that I wanted to know. So I was like, it's fine. But
that's very true for sure. Thank you, Jesson. You also noticed all the food. Yeah. I feel like that about every book that she's written. I'm like, she just describes food so good. And then I just want to go to like Cracker Barrel, which I don't know.
There's a recipe in the back of mine.
I know, mine too, for mud pies.
I was like, we shouldn't make those. We should have made those and be eating them. They look very not good for me, but very delicious. Yeah.
That's this part that Tori said. I think that's why it didn't feel info dumpy to me, because it was all about families and it was about people that, I don't know, it felt more like I was more invested in the information instead of it just being like a political setup, which is typically what you get in fantasy info dumping. It's like, how does the politics work in the world? Like, no, I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What was I going to say? It just slipped. Well, I liked that this was far north. Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin were mentioned at different points. I was like, whoop, whoop, talking about my home ground. So that was nice, which made sense because it needed to be in the north and not, in other places. Yeah. So, yeah.
Let's talk about this. Tiffany. I loved those too.
Oh my gosh. So sexy.
So much.
When he needed to take a bath, so then he could take a bath with her.
Yes. There were so many. There were at least like 4, right?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Oh, it's just so romantic.
It honestly just was like, I
love bath scenes.
I think the thing that makes him so romantic is, like was mentioned earlier, like how he pays attention to all the details about Hester and the things that are important to her. He takes notice of the things that are important to her, and that's what he focuses on. It's never just about, like, when she shows up to the ball and she doesn't have, like, jewels or whatever, and the other woman was like, oh, that's kind of a big deal. But he had gotten her all of these other amazing things that actually would matter to her, I loved that.
Well, he would have her in everything. It's her who like holds back,
But that's what makes it so romantic, I feel like, is because it's him thinking about what would she like, and he knows that she's not going to like jewels, even though he has the ability to give them to her. He gifts her things that she wants, and it's never about him displaying his power or his wealth or whatever. It's just all about her and what she wants, and I feel like that's the ticket.
And it's always in Indigo.
Yeah,
it's like the ring. Oh my god, I love a good like ring, giving a ring to someone. I don't know,
right, Nicole? I love this too. Jen, you got to read this comment.
I know, I'm sorry, people are asking me. Also with the whole discourse about Batman. Oh my gosh. Who doesn't participate in cunnilingus to go fuck themselves and have fun alone?
Exactly.
Go have fun alone. Well, Ava Lee, she posted, she's like, I promise you that every hero I ever write will get some.
I loved that too.
Yeah. I mean, so many times too that he was always like, I'm going to give you pleasure and we're going to stop. And she'd be like, why? And he's like, because you'll say yes to me in that moment. And that's not how we're going to decide to do it. And I'm just like, yes. It's my favorite. He's like, you'd say yes to me when I get you to a certain point. That's not how that we're going to do this.
Yes. Let's talk about this. That he was really excellent at that, like definitely putting her first. Like again, and this comes back to why he is such an excellent romantic hero. It's all about her, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah. Literally I'm reading a mafia book where that's happening right now too. And it's funny because a lot of the same beats that happen in this book happen in that book, and I'm just like, I just love a certain hero and I don't care at all. Where it's the same thing of like, I'm gonna give to you and I'm not expecting anything back, because that's not what this is about. This is about me showing you how I feel. And like, it's so good. It's the best.
It's so good.
Yeah. Well, we're a broken record tonight, but I'm fine with it.
We've talked about a lot of stuff, but it is just so good. We have said that a lot, but
yeah, I mean, this was a great choice. I'm glad that you picked this one.
it was really good. I loved it. I loved getting to. I'm so glad that you loved it. I honestly was a little worried. I was a little worried because, you know, this is one of those books that like I have a lot of feelings about, but it was great.
Well, yeah, I always think that's funny. I'm like, you know, the things that I don't like. This book doesn't have any of the things I don't like, so there was no chance at all. There was no chance at all that I didn't like it.
But I did worry about the plot because I know that it does slow down a lot in the middle. But it wasn't enough to make it less of a 5-star for me. But I know that other people have said that is what they don't like about this book.
That only gets me if the romance had slowed down too. To me, the romance never slows down. And I don't care. Like, okay, at the end of the day, I don't care who the fuck the spy was. Like, I really do. It was just that it became, like, super obvious who it was. And so then I was like, okay, well, Beverly Jenkins obviously doesn't care who the spy is either. We're here for the romance. Which is, whereas I feel like in ones where I have struggled with a particular author who just likes to torture everybody and make people grovel horribly and a lot, that I'm just like, okay, well, we're just self-torturing ourselves and the romance isn't happening. So those ones are tough for me because I'm like, well, I feel like this hero has no chance at all, so why am I here? You know, and what's going to make it great? And that's not one particular author. I just mean there's some that particularly come to mind where I'm like, you're making.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you're making this person grovel for the sake of a grovel. And in this book, nobody needs to grovel. He's just trying to convince you of him. Like, he didn't do anything wrong, ever. Like, it's literally just two people, and he's trying to convince her that they're meant to be together. Like, that's it.
I loved this, too. I thought this was so good. It was...
Yeah. Yeah, I love that lady. The woman he was supposed to marry, she was so sweet.
She was so sweet.
My best friend. Like, I always loved him, but like we weren't meant to be together. So I'm so happy you're here. Like, oh, I love that. I love that we didn't have to like woman hate on someone.
Yes.
Yeah, I suspected Janine, but because she's she's trash. So don't know what else to say about that. But I wanted a book on her. Oh.
You're thinking of the woman who Galen was supposed to marry? Yes, that would be great. I know that there is a big chart somewhere. I think it's on Twitter somewhere. Maybe Izzy has it, of how the different families are connected and what books are connected. And I know I don't really know how they connect. Clearly, I don't really care about people's lineage. I'm just there for that. Particular couple.
In the ones that I own, yes, Raymond has a book for sure. If Justin's still watching, she could probably tell you. I think she knows. Because like the one that I'm gonna read for the readathon is about Dominic Levesque, and he's a privateer. So like I know, like I recognize the names at the back of books. And then I have one I just recently got was this one. No, I don't recognize the names in this one. But this one's in Colorado.
But even like her newest
fucking
book.
hair. Sorry, look at him.
Beautiful.
He's so hot. Sorry.
But even like her newest book, Wild Rain, has ties back to Indigo.
Yes,
but I'm not sure exactly how.
I heard that.
I haven't read that yet, but yeah, most of the
Levex mentioned have a book. Okay,
yeah.
I thought so. Through the Storm. Yeah, okay. Justin and I were talking about this, and then I was like, I don't know, I haven't read them yet. I don't know, but I'm very interested in some of those. So, yeah.
Well, should we talk about, does anyone else have anything they want to talk about? I loved this book. I'm so glad that we read this for this month. This was just a complete delight, honestly. Like, I've really enjoyed last month's book. This one was one of my favorites ever. And I have very high expectations for next month's book.
Yes!
I am so excited for that one.
We're sorry we changed it up on y'all, but I don't think any of you guys really wanted to read the Maya Rodale. I did not like the one that I read, and Crystal didn't really like the two that she read, and we're like, nah. Let's continue Scarlet Peckham, because somehow I haven't finished this series, even though the first one was amazing. I still haven't continued. So, oop, you froze. Freezing. Oop. There you go.
Maybe? Am I back now?
Yes, you're talking.
No. Okay. Okay.
But
I guess that means it's about time to go. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy all of you read this with us or had read it already. This was a great one. We promise from now on that all books we choose will have audiobooks for you to listen to. That is our promise to you. Because after midnight was a struggle for a lot of us, not necessarily for content, but because there's no audiobook. We will pick books that have audiobooks now. So.
Super hyped about that. So that one will be the second Thursday in August, right?
No, July.
Right, July. It's only June. Mm-hmm. Right, July. Okay, yeah.
And Devil in Disguise will be the third week in August.
That will be fun. Excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm pumped because Jessin said that's her favorite. That's her favorite Lisa Kleypas she's read. So high expectations from me.
Definitely. Yep.
Oh, I'm never disappointed with Elisa Kleypas. I've yet to honestly be like, I hate that book. Like, I love them.
Yeah, I haven't read all of them, but I haven't had one where I've hated it. I've had some that I think probably the only one that I've really been not a fan of is Cold Hearted
Rake.
So,
yeah. Which is so weird to me. That was my first ever Lisa Kleypas.
I think it's a lot of people's first because it's the first in a series, but.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, now having read 20 of her books, I mean, that one's definitely lower on the poll now, but it's so good. But, well, thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you next month for this Appreciation Society.
Yeah.
And with Scarlet Peckham. Excited.
Yeah. This one's going to be, I'm hyped.
I'm very hyped, too. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.